Hello. So we've had such a powerful conversation about how academic privilege can be leveraged for real world impact.
Yeah, and I learned a lot. And this is exactly what we're talking about in the next session, which is translating SDG gains and lessons for Generation Beta.
Yep. So to guide us through this important conversation, I'm handing over to V, who will be leading our panel, and maybe see you again later.
See you later. Daisy will also come back later. She'll be one of the speakers for the session on SDGs. Good morning, everyone. Hi. Okay, so it's fantastic to see so many bright young people and younger people in the room with us today. Because one thing is for sure, the youth are not just the future, we are also the now. That's why the title is uh, now. And with less than 5 years left to hit those ambitious sustainable development goals, now is the best time to set up. My name is JV Marasigan Pangan. I'm a multimedia journalist, educator, and a cooperative leader. My work revolves around telling Filipino migrant stories, peace initiatives, and cooperatives that create lasting impact. I also chair the Youth Connect Cooperative, where we are transforming the gig economy into something sustainable. But to give us a few words, I would like to invite one of our partners from UNCAF, the president of UNCAF, Mr. Abdallah Sharif. Let's give him a warm round of applause, please.
Thank you very much. Very shortly, I would like to greet you all and welcome you here in this building where we have a small office here. So on behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association, I would like really to greet you. And the young people, of course, always in our mind. You know, yesterday we had our annual meetings as UNCAF, and I was till 2 o'clock in the morning, but I promised Maritzel, to come here and spend with you some minutes. In this, with this opportunity, I would like to share you a little bit experience about my own history. I born in Sudan and I came as a young student to Hungary. So when the Hungarian group stood up, I wanted also to stand up, because I studied there. And the best experience I have made as a young student coming from Africa is to share the room with different people from different part of the world. So I lived with young from Vietnam, and I lived with Carlos in the same room from Ecuador, and even from DDR, that is East Germany, which is not existing more, and also from Africa and from the Arab countries. And from that experience, really, I think that was the most valuable diploma I received, because I finished my university as a diploma engineer and I work in Germany. So living together with somebody from different continent, that was a very, very valuable thing. And also that time, we had no mobiles and no television, only one television in the hostel or in the boarding building. So we had enough time to each other. So really, I would encourage young people always, to find the possibility to speak to each other and even maybe living together, so you will learn more. And that part, just I wanted to share with you. I wish you a nice time today, nice discussions, because from discussions you will get good ideas, and good ideas bring you to initiatives, to program, to make projects, and I am happy to be with you. And maybe later I can join you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sharif. And that's very important to speak to each other. Later, we have our networking lunch, and we can take that as an opportunity to talk to each other, exchange business cards, talk something over coffee and lunch, and probably even like collaborate and start collaborating now. Okay, but before that, everyone, get out your phones. I want you to show me your phones. We're gonna play a game. We're gonna play a game. Okay. We're gonna play a game. Okay, so ready your cameras or ready your Google Chrome or Safari. I want you to focus on the screen. We're going to play a game. Okay. So yeah, you're familiar with Mentimeter. So Andy, if you could just move the QR code, you can move. You can hover over the QR code and you can move the arrow to the left or right. Yes, so it doesn't block the way. Okay. So the first question is, first scan this QR code. And if you cannot scan this QR code, please go to menti.com and please type this number. So menti.com, that's MENTI. Oh, you're already answering. That's great. Amazing. Okay. So the question is, which SDG are you most involved in or connected to? So it's just a feel of the room, like which SDG are you already involved in? So I'm gonna give you like maybe 1 minute to answer this. I will also answer. So Andy is working on SDG 18. He invented one. Wow. Okay, so we're already seeing some SDGs that are really, really high, like quality education SDG 4 is 39% of the room are engaged in SDG number 4. And we can see that some are really left behind, at least in this room. It doesn't represent reality, guys. Okay? All right. That's That's nice. Okay, as we can see on the screen, a lot of us here are already involved or are already engaged in quality education. I mean, a lot of us here are students, a lot of you are students, and some of us here just recently graduated, and we have teachers here as well, so probably that's why. But we can see already now that some SDGs are underrepresented or not represented at all. And while this is the case for this room, this might also point to like a concerning fact or statistic that's present out there. According to 2024 report, some of these SDGs are actually like left behind by a mile. So let's look at the second item in this menti.com. Are you ready for the second one? Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this is a quiz, so you have to guess. So as of 2024, what percentage of SDG targets are on track to be achieved by 2030? Oh, you're so fast. You're good students. Okay, so we have 8%, 17, 30, or 44%. So let's wait. I'll give you 30 seconds to think about it more. Okay, some of you are answering because others are answering the the okay. All right. Cool. Okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. I would like to put a big number like 50%, but that's a little bit unrealistic. So Andy, if you could press enter. No, press enter. There. The correct answer is only 17% of the SDG targets as a whole are just on track. So a lot of these actually are we're not doing good in some of the SDGs. Some have regressed already, but I don't want this session to be bleak and I don't want to give you like hopelessness. So we're gonna talk about how to resolve this in this room, yeah, at the UN. Okay, Andy, oh, thank you for clicking heart. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I think this is the last one. That's a lot of hearts. Thank you. Okay, so this is the actual figure, guys. So this is from the 2024 report from the United Nations Statistics. Uh, Overall progress assessment across targets with trend data 2024. Only 70% are on track or the targets are met. 18% there's moderate progress. 30% there's marginal progress, but it's concerning that I cannot read that. 18 and I think that's 17% actually stagnated and even regressed. And I can tell that these SDGs are, for example, hunger, like, yeah, hunger. So more people are actually hungry. Like more people don't have food at their tables now than when we started this. But we are doing, the world is trying really hard to address this in different societies. Okay, next item. Is there a next item? Okay, now I want to ask. So you are already involved in the SDGs or connected with some SDGs before, right? I want to ask you now, which other SDG would you like to contribute to? So if you answered education earlier, would you like to maybe, okay, would you like to maybe contribute to other SDGs? Wow. Okay. Nobody wants quality education anymore. Okay. You voted. Thank you. I would like to acknowledge that Andy Peñafuerte voted. For example, for me, I'm involved in many of the SDGs because I work in the cooperatives, and in cooperatives, we touch a lot of SDGs in our work. But if I were to choose like one specific one that I would like to be involved after this session, I would maybe choose responsible consumption and production. Yeah, like there's so much food waste and extra clothes and other things that we have out there. So see, so a lot of people want to be involved in climate action, and that's great. And also good health. And I don't know what this is. What's SDG 16 again? Peace, justice, and strong institution. This is nice. This is Daisy's area of expertise. Thank you very much, guys, for engaging in this. Let's give yourselves a warm round of applause. That's like our mini game. So what does this have to do with today? So let's take a step back. We're talking about sustainable development goals. But before the SDGs came, we had the 6 Millennium Development Goals. So if this is like a new concept, Millennium Development Goals are like, well, they're the Millennium Development Goals. Raise your hand if you're familiar, if you've heard of the Millennium Development Goals. I haven't because I'm a Gen Z, so I don't know. But these were the global targets set in the year 2000, back when we were still scared of like the year 2000, the world was ending, the computers will shut down. We were actually coming up with the Millennium Development Goals. And these focus on only 6, like poverty reduction, education, gender equality, and public health, and more. And while the MDGs achieved some progress, one of the biggest lessons we learned was that top-down approaches weren't enough. And we needed more collaboration, inclusivity, and innovation, which is exactly what led to the birth of SDGs in 2015, exactly 10 years ago, and now with 5 years left. Now, here's where things get interesting. Intergenerational teamwork. Millennials, okay, me. Millennials had a front row seat to the transition from the 6 Millennium Development Goals to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So we basically watched the world go from let's fix 6 problems like poverty to literally let's fix everything and more. So we learned from the previous generations, the boomers and the Gen X, how to advocate, how to mobilize, and to shake things up. In return, we took that energy, discovered Wi-Fi, and went full speed into hashtags, viral campaigns, and digital activism. We made change clickable and shareable. Basically, millennials walk so Gen Z could run full speed with a ring light. But here's the key question. What have we accomplished in the past 10 years? And with 5 years left, what else can be done? Are we doing enough to pass those lessons on to Gen Z? How can we ensure that when Gen Z beta steps in, they don't have to start from scratch? And we will be joined by our first speaker, who is from Washington, D.C. He is Jacob Soule. Because when we talk about sustainable development, we can't ignore the power of education. But access to quality education, especially in rural communities, remains a huge challenge. Our first speaker has dedicated his career to breaking down these barriers. He's a lawyer by training, an ambassador for Teach SDGs, and the founder of the I Read to Live initiative, which advocates for quality and civic education in Nigeria. He's also worked closely with global organizations like World Bank Youth Summit. Hi, Jacob. very, very early good morning to you. Early morning there in Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I hope you all can hear me. It is a great pleasure to join you all this morning from Washington, D.C. And I'd like to thank specifically the organizers, JV, and everyone who's worked tirelessly to make sure we have a smooth transmission and event today. I also want to specifically congratulate every young person's PhD student, postgraduate student, college student, teachers, professors, and UN staffs who are supporting this wonderful event today. This morning, I have a very short presentation to share with you all. And I'm just going to focus on the SDGs, how we started this journey, what we've done so far in Nigeria, what we've done in different parts of the world, and how we as young people can actually take the bull by the horn and lead advocacies for quality education and other targets of the Sustainable Development Goals. Like JV said, my name is Jacob Sule. I'm an attorney, and I currently reside in the United States. What are we talking about when we talk about the SDGs? It's called the Sustainable Development Goals. Many years ago, world leaders came together and decided that we need to chart a new course for saving the planet. And they came across what we call the Sustainable Development Goals, transitioning from the Millennium Development Goals. Today, I'll talk about our founding stories. For a nonprofit I started many years ago as an undergraduate law student. I'd also talk about our strategies and the approach in which we've used in advocating for the SDGs. We've also focused on teacher training, and I'm also going to talk about the impact, the challenges, and the recommendations in which we've made in advocating for the SDGs around the world. Many years ago, as a college student back in Nigeria, I was very and still very much more passionate about access to education. How can we support young people? How can we give back to the environment hosting us? What can we do to make sure every child has access to education? I started a nonprofit group. As at then, it was a volunteer group called I Read to Live Initiative. This was a group made up of law students in Osun State in Nigeria who were just in school trying to become lawyers and attorneys to save the world and advocate for justice. And then as a volunteer group, we did a survey of the entire schools in that environment. And we noticed a challenge that many kids in those environments were out of school. Many parents do not really understand the importance of education. Neither could they even talk about what the SDGs were. So I started this group, and our focus then was to supplement government efforts in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals of quality education in Nigeria. We had a clear mission, which is still very valid today, was to promote and advocate for quality education and making sure that every child, regardless of age, color, skin, religion, background, have access to quality education. Our strategies were specifically focused on empowering students. We were focused on training volunteers, and we also made sure that we supported teachers because teachers play a critical role in advocating and making sure that we all achieve the sustainable target of quality education. Our journey started as you can see, myself and my colleagues were dressed in white, had a tie and a jacket. We attended parents, teachers, association meetings. We met with stakeholders in the environment where we're advocating for SDGs. To the picture on the right, you would see me over there sitting with parents, grandparents, and kids, trying to just see how we can raise advocacy and get young people involved about the importance of education. This was far back in 2015 when I was still back in Nigeria as a college student. We also held strategic meetings as students. We met every fortnight to discuss about our priorities. We also reviewed a survey that we conducted in the entire schools in that particular region. We addressed the challenges students were faced with. We collaborated with teachers. We started a volunteer network to train students. We also started teaching classes, and we also launched a volunteer teaching scheme where law students were going into schools to support teachers and also make sure that every kid has access to education. In the process of doing this, we also trained our volunteers to understand the entire target of the SDGs goal. And in doing this, each of our volunteers ran with a particular goal from goal 1 to 17. That's from no poverty to ensuring partnership for the SDGs. And as you can see on the pictures on the screen, many of those folks in which you see now are lawyers in their individual fields who are now championing the goals of the Sustainable Development Goals around the world, from Europe to Africa to North America and to every part of the world. How did we do this? We went into schools, as you can see on your screen over there. We taught classes. We trained students about literacy. We had literacy competition. We talked about the right to education. We encouraged them that the only way in which you can actually become somebody with clarity in life is to go to school. And there's so many people that say, oh no, what will I do with education? We have been able to challenge that narrative and encourage young people, saying that the only way in which you can become extremely successful in life is to have quality education. And in doing this, I'm proud to announce that for several years, we have launched literacy events. We've supported students. We've given out scholarships. And when we started this program up to date, we've had about 35% enrollment of kids back in school. And I can say that these kids have gone to seek quality education and they are doing very well in their individual endeavors. We also had multiple training sessions. We spoke with students about the need to understand the SDGs and how they can take targets. These are classrooms back in those days in Nigeria. But this is not the current state of these classrooms, because we have been able to raise funds to support these students. We've also been able to get quality classrooms for teaching. We've also been able to get comfortable chairs. We've also been able to provide them with textbooks, reading materials, writing materials, and backpacks to go to school. What have we done since we started our nonprofits? We have hosted multiple community literacy competition. In 2016, we have also had literacy events, which is majorly on oratory, helping kids to understand that, yes, you need to be able to speak and understand why you're going to school, and also be able to advocate for the SDGs. We have also hosted, like I said, multiple events. And first in Nigeria, we hosted EdCamp. EdCamp is a form of conferencing where educators come together virtually or in person in a room to discuss ways in which you can actually support education and make education attractive to all. We've also incorporated sports into our events and many more of those things. What I just want to tell you all is that regardless of where you are, we must ensure that we are all aware about the SDGs. We all must take actions. We cannot overemphasize the need for collaboration, partnership. Just like Dr. Jane said, they are getting older, they are retiring. The ball is now for us as young people to run with the SDGs. Educate yourself about the SDGs, see how you can create actions, collaborate with partners, individuals, institutions, and see how we all can come together to advocate for quality education. Back in Nigeria, we have leveraged partnership with folks using social media. We have connected with educators and also private institutions abroad. And these are pictures in which you are seeing right now. At this point, we have recorded about 57.3 enrollment of students back in school. We've launched reading clubs and we've done quite a number of things. I just want to thank you all very sincerely. I understand that my time is up. I just want to say one thing very quickly. People may forget your name. People may even disagree with your idea, but your impact in changing life, in advocating for quality education will forever linger in people's hearts. And I want to thank you very sincerely for listening, and I wish you all a fruitful deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jacob. It's really nice to hear from an SDG champion, and we have you in the room. Now we have 5 minutes to talk to Jacob. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand so I could acknowledge you. Well, if you don't have questions, maybe you're still thinking about your question, processing, marinating what you just heard. So I have a question for you, Jacob. We saw in your presentation intergenerational transfer and intergenerational collaboration in action, but sometimes that's not the reality in different parts of the world. There's intergenerational, I don't know, ostracization or something, like they fight, or there's a lot of judgment, like Gen X saying that the newer generations are lazy. There's all these like baggages from one generation to another. One of my favorite authors, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, is from Nigeria, and she said that the danger about stereotypes is that the danger of a single story is that not that it's untrue, but it's incomplete. So how are we battling stereotypes on the ground? How are we changing these kinds of perceptions?
Thank you, JB. The only way in which we can change stereotype is to understand what you are being stereotypical about. And the only way you can do that is to be educated. So for young people, regardless of the stereotypical perception in which you're receiving, I encourage you all to be educated. And when this thing comes to you, you just have to be able to rebut this thing with education, saying that, no, I disagree with you respectfully. This is what the concept of education says. This is what I'm going to do. I'll give you a short story about being stereotypical. Sometimes when I was taking a trip to China, which interestingly was how I met Andy, who is one of the collaborators for this event. I arrived on my flight to China. I was the only Black person on the flight. And, before I took that trip, I'd already taken time to learn basic things about some language. And people were asking, oh, what is this person going to say? How is he going to communicate to us? He's African, he's Nigerian, how is he going to speak? But I was very clear about the message I came with was education. We must ensure that regardless of what people say or what people's perception about you, it doesn't change your mind. And this would make me to refer to Les Brown, who is an American motivational speaker. It says people perception about you are not a true reflection of who you are. So regardless of any stereotypical comments you might get, keep your head very high, keep your head on your shoulder, but focus on what you're doing. If you focus on the SDGs, keep at it. People may say very unnice comments about you. People may make uncharitable comments, but in as much as you have a clear direction, you have a clear focus, I think you can do well for yourself, and those comments would not deter you from doing whatever you want to do. So for everyone listening, I challenge you, shun your eyes or shut your ears against any stereotypical comments. We focus on the goals, and we all will have a prosperous and more safe planet by the end of the decade. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Yeah, focus on the goal. That should be a hashtag, right? Okay, anyone who would like to ask a question? Okay, you're still thinking, still thinking. Okay, I have more questions for you, Jacob, like while we're waiting for questions here. There's no doubt digital transformation has been a game changer, but not everyone has the same access. Some communities still struggle with lack of infrastructure, no Wi-Fi, limited devices, even limited basic digital literacy. So there's a whole digital divide, right? So we were talking about privilege in the previous session. So how do we bridge this gap? How can young people in these situations still be part of the movement despite these challenges? And what resources are available? Sorry, those are many questions.
That's a very great question, JB. And I'll tell a little bit about my story. Young people, the future belongs to us, and the future is now. The only way in which we can be a part of this is to strategically take a seat at the table and not just be a spectator. And for you to take a seat, you must really understand what you want to speak about and what you want to advocate for. So yes, there are so many digital divides. Many years ago, we couldn't have conference calls like this, but now things are improving, and young people are now at the forefront of advocating for bridging this digital divide. And the only way is education. You have to be educated yourself. You have to spend time away from social media. You have to build your competency. You have to seek for knowledge. There are multiple resources, even on the UN website. There are multiple and tons of resources on SDGs, how you can raise advocacy. I started my far back as 2014 when it was actually the MDGs. I spent several times studying about the goals, went to law school, spent time reading about all of the targets, started a nonprofit and all of that. We all do not need to have nonprofits. We can collaborate with existing organizations. We can volunteer. We can seek for knowledge. And I think that's the only way in which you can actually advocate for all of this. You can only change what you know. If you don't know anything, you can't change it. So the only way to challenge the narrative is to continually seek for quality education, wherever you're from. You need not be in the United States, or you need not be in Austria or Vienna before you can seek quality education. We all have mobile phones. We all have good phones. We all have, as young people, we have the best gadgets now. And the only way we can do this is to leverage on the resources we have. You can use Google, or you can use any search engine in which you want to use to just learn about the and SDGs. And I think if we do that, we would actually become much more educated and skilled about the challenge in which we want to change. And I think that's the only way in which we as young people can break the divide and actually advocate for achieving the global goals of the SDGs.
Thank you very much, Jacob. We will have more time for Jacob later. He will still join us while we have the rest of the speakers. Okay. I'm missing one of my papers. It's fine. Okay. Now, the next speaker is, thank you. All right, thank you very much, Daisy, and thank you very much, Jacob. Next up, we have someone who knows firsthand how communities thrive when young people take charge. She manages 150 volunteers, more than 150 volunteers in Kirklees in the UK for Fresh Futures, a charity dedicated to enhancing the well-being of families, children, and adults. And she was with us earlier. It's Daisy Whitby. She's headed to Japan for in April this year for her master's in international relations as a mixed scholar at the prestigious Waseda University in Tokyo. Please welcome Daisy Whitby.
Hello again. Thank you for having me again. I hope you're not tired of hearing me speak. And thank you for a lovely introduction, JV. Yeah, so do we have my PowerPoint? It's okay if not, but yeah, I'm really happy to be part of this discussion as well today, as well as the first one. I think it really leads into this, talking about the sort of privileges that some of us might have and how we can really use that and put that into sort of action when we're trying to achieve the SDGs. So as we were kind of discussing earlier, we're just 5 years away from 2023, but there's still so much work to do. But I think it's really key that, we were saying it is about making it sustainable. So this is sort of a lifetime, it's I don't know, eternal, I guess. We're never going to have to stop trying to improve these things, and it'll keep evolving, and the way that we tackle these things will always have to keep evolving with the times. So yeah, I think it's really important for us to think about how can we make this accessible? How can we make this interesting and fun? Because sometimes it feels too big, too distant, too complex for people to engage with. So I think that's, for me, where media, storytelling, creative engagement all come in. So if we want to translate that into something meaningful for the future generations, we have to make it relevant, accessible, and interactive. So I'd like to share some examples of how I did this in Hiroshima through advocacy work that I was doing with JV at the time. Yeah, so as I mentioned, where are we now? So I'd like to talk a little bit about sort of challenges and progress in the SDGs. So a lot of them have, as we were mentioned, due to pandemics and such, stalled, and conflict too. And there might also be uneven priorities. So the one that I've been sort of looking at the most is SDG, the 16th one. So like peace, justice. And this one I think is often quite overlooked. So it's how can we make this, put this into the forefront? How can we get people to think about this more? And I think a major issue is that it often speaks to people who are already engaged. So a problem that we ran into time and time again in Hiroshima is that it felt as if we were in an echo chamber. Every event, every meeting, the same people, the same faces. So how can we challenge that? How can we open it up? How can we bring new ideas into the room? And how can we make sure every voice is represented? I think another thing is that misconception of the youth being uninterested. I think it's not that they're uninterested. Perhaps the opportunities might not be widely available. Do we have my presentation? It's coming. Okay. We'd like to talk about a picture that was on the presentation, but we'll get to that later. Yeah, so I had the opportunity to come here to Vienna 2 years ago for the first meeting of States Party for the TPNW, the Treaty of Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, as part of a youth MSP. And at that time, the organizers spoke about how privilege was a big thing then as well, because a lot of people who applied for that and were successful to come actually weren't able to attend due to, of course, financial issues, and as well due to citizenship visas not being processed in time. So it was a really good opportunity to think about. Actually, a lot of people do want to be involved, but the barriers are there. So how can we, the people who are in the room today, think about ways that we can make it more accessible for people who want to also be involved in the conversation? As Dr. Jane mentioned earlier, we have responsibility to make sure that we are using that privilege to open up these spaces. And then as well, younger generations consume information differently. So we need to use platforms and methods that actually reach them. So the question today I really want to try and answer is, how do we break through these barriers and make SDG engagement something that feels real, relevant, and personal? So, okay. So, yes.
We can stop here and continue when we're back with the presentation. Like, we can just talk. Oh, it's here. It's here.
It's here. Where?
Go. Oh my, I'm so relieved that it's there. It's there, but it's not there.
Okay. I
There
can
you go.
see
Can
it.
you start with the first pictures?
Thank you. Can we go back one? Two, maybe? Yeah, this one. Yeah, this is the one I was mentioning earlier when I was able to attend this event, Youth for TPNW. And this is a quote from Beatrice Finn, who was the executive director of ICANN, the International Campaign for Abolition of Nuclear Weapons in Geneva, and that group also won the Nobel Peace Prize a few years back. But yeah, as she said, people often tell me young people don't care about nuclear weapons, but that's not true. We just need to create space for them, and that space shouldn't be separate. So yeah, we should be all at the same table, a little bit like what Jacob was mentioning earlier. So yeah, could we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So yeah, one of the ways I wanted to speak about sort of the engagement and making it interactive is through storytelling. So in Hiroshima, myself and V, we volunteered for a small organization called Ant, and we made a sort of social media presence for them called Ant Friends. And one of the big projects that we did was translating stories from hibakusha, who are atomic bomb survivors, and trying to make these accessible for many people. So we also found that the organization had a bank of many stories, all in Japanese, not really being seen by anyone. So we took these stories and we took the time to translate them, to find pictures, and really sort of put them in a place, so on Instagram, Facebook, and other places where people can see them and hopefully gain something from these stories, from the things that these hibakusha want to pass on to us. Especially fewer survivors remain to tell these stories firsthand, so we really felt some sort of responsibility to make sure that these stories are passed on, not just in Japan but internationally as well, because it feels very relevant right now in the world to be talking about the consequences of the use of nuclear weapons. So yeah, this allowed us to bring their voices to a global audience, especially young people who may never have the chance to meet hibakusha. And we felt that it really broke sort of language, generational, and cultural barriers. And we felt that this was able to, keep history alive and more accessible for people who might not have the chance to visit Japan or Hiroshima. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So we also did an event. This was on the anniversary of the bomb, on the 8th of August. This was 2022, and we did Peace Park orienteering. So it's a stamp rally, as they call it in Japanese. This is the social media advert that we made before the event, and this is a picture. So we invited families, well, anyone really that wanted to attend, and we gave them sort of some information, and we asked them to find landmarks around. So this was a really great opportunity for families to sort of teach the children about the events that happened on the 8th of August, and to also, teach them about why this matters for the future as well. So this was a really interactive way, and we had really great feedback. So yeah, we felt that this was a good way that we could kind of turn it into educational, into something interactive, and allow children to engage through history, through sort of exploration and play, which is, I think, something that a lot of children can enjoy. And the next one, please. Thank you. So this was from a cookie decorating event that we did just before the TPNW, so the Treaty of Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, came into effect. So this was a way of us being able to bring a group of people together, like families and children involved, and talk about something that seems like a really difficult sort of concept to understand in a way that we were able to make easier. And it was just before Christmas time, so we sort of made it festive, and we had a quiz. And afterwards, yeah, we had a lot of feedback that people didn't really understand or know these concepts before, these treaties, or how they worked, but afterwards they had a better understanding of what they were and why they were important. So we really felt that this was a way to make it less intimidating and more relevant in people's lives. Yeah, and then next slide, please. So we did a series of international webinars. These are the 4 ones that we did. So as you can see, there's one about nuclear weapons. So that was, again, about the TPNW. There's one about media censorship, about LGBTQ plus representation, and as sports as a means for peace. So we felt that these online discussions allow people from all over the world to exchange ideas, learn from each other, and apply lessons to their kind of own context and their own backgrounds. Yeah, so thinking about how we can pass these lessons on to the next generations, some points that I would like to make is I think that we need to make this sort of advocacy digital first, as much as we can, in the form of short form videos, interactive posts, visual storytelling. So this way we can reach audiences more effectively than maybe long reports that might get overlooked or not seen. And as an example, with the Hibakusha Instagram post, we sort of preserve history in a way that people could really relate with. And not just young people, but a story that I like to tell is that my mum is our biggest follower on Instagram, and she had no idea about any of these things beforehand, but now she's telling me new information sometimes. So yeah. Also, yeah, gamify learning and making it interactive. And I think really important is to meet people where they really are in their daily life. So not everyone will attend an academic talk like we might do here, but they might come to a fun community event. So I think it's really important to meet people where they are in the spaces that they will feel less intimidated and more relevant for their life. And yeah, to encourage youth-led global conversations, because the most sustainable form of advocacy is when young people take ownerships of these conversations. So we felt that our webinars brought together young activists worldwide, and we show that we don't need to wait for institutions to take charge. We can do these things from the grassroots as well. So yeah, as a final thought, if we want these generations beta, it's the American British pronunciation, I don't know, beta, to care about SDGs, we need to translate progress into stories that they can connect with. So whether that's through digital media, interactive experience, or creative community events, we need to meet them where they are and not where we expect them to be. So the more accessible and engaging we are to make these conversations, the more likely we are to turn passive listeners into active change makers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lizzie. May I invite you to please join me here at the panel table? That's very, very important. I like what you said about meeting people where they are, regardless of age, not where we expect them. Because sometimes we organize things like this and we want them to be in the room, but maybe there are other ways and channels where we can reach them, like on the ground. Like instead of making them come here, maybe we can go to where they are. That's a really, really good point. And we'll be asking you more questions later, so please prepare your questions. Now, our next speaker is shaping young minds every single day. She's a high school teacher specializing in biology, environmental, and European studies at the Bilingual International School in Bratislava, Slovakia. She cooperates with the European Parliament and the Commission and leads the Women's Federation for World Peace International, which is also one of our partners in Slovakia. Please, let's welcome teacher, Lubitsa Magnuson. Let's give her a warm round.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe I should say young ladies and young gentlemen. I am very honored to introduce our school, our students who came here today, and also our projects we are doing. And we manage in a small way to bring SDGs to our school. So this is our school. You can see we are eco-friendly. We like green. We like to do things with nature. We like environment and protect it. Can you put another slide? Okay. These are no, the second one. Okay, thank you. So this is our school and our students gardening around. And our school has 3 programs. So we have international program, then we have bilingual English-Slovak program, and we have 8 years grammar school program. And today here with me are students from bilingual program and also from 8-year grammar school program. They will be introduced later. In our bilingual school, bilingual program and 8-year grammar school, we have very special subject, which is called European Studies. I think we are the only school in Slovakia to have this subject now. And so we deal with different topics. These are just few examples what we teach there. We look at international organizations like League of Nations and successor United Nations, European Union, its history, reason why they were created, and also institutions and how they work on everyday basis. And also we speak about global issues, environmental issues, and we create different projects. Thank you. I would like to tell you about one project we started this year, and this is UN Sustainable Development Goals project. I was doing this project in 3 classes, and always students were divided into like pairs, and each pair they could choose one SGD and work and be familiar with. You can see outlines of the project. So first we study something about the history of SGDs and also reasons why they were created or developed. Then they chose one SGD, and they look also at targets, the smaller sub-goals, and then they were looking at the current situation, what are the problems, they research how things could be improved, and they also look at different organizations, NGOs, which are running programs or projects, and what has been already done and what needs to be done still. And then at the end, their work was also to create or to think about suggestions. So what they would suggest in order this SGD would be fulfilled one day. And at this point, I would like to call my students, Maria Kapkova, Veronika Vaňová, also Diana Bečaková. And I would like to give floor to them, and they will introduce their project. We chose 2 projects, two SGDs, 12, which is sustainable consumption. Sustainable consumption, yes. And number 4, which is education. So they will introduce their work. Thank you.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm Veronika Vaňová, and this is my classmate, Maria Kapkova. We are 15 and 17 years old. And today we want to talk more about the SDG 12, which is sustainable consumption and production. So this goal is to ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. It's because our planet is almost out of resources, and if population reaches 9.8 billion by 2050, which is the prediction, we will need equivalent of 3 planets to ensure and provide all our natural resources we will need. I'm not sure if I have another slide. Okay, thanks. Another one, please. So there are 11 targets, which are 12.1 to 12.8, and also 12.A, B, and C. Every target is different in something, and we choose 12.3 and 12.4 to talk about them more.
Okay, so reducing food loss and food waste. So target 12.3 aims to halve global food waste and reduce food losses. It is crucial to understand the difference between food loss, which happens during production and distribution, and food waste, which occurs when food is discarded by customers and retailers. In 2020, the global food waste reached 13.3%. The highest percentage represented sub-Saharan Africa. Up there, 21.4%. The second graph shows the amount of food wasted in just Europe. Notice how most of the waste actually comes from households, the first column. Okay. Currently, 1 billion meals worth of edible food is being wasted every day. That is the equivalent of 1.3 meals per person impacted by hunger per day. Food waste also contributes around 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And let's not forget that by wasting food, we also waste all the resources which were used to grow this food. So the second target we are going to look at talks about chemicals and waste management. Target 12.4 focuses on the environmentally sound management of chemicals and all waste throughout their life cycle. Globally, we face challenges such as lack of regulation and regulations, lack of restrictions, and lack of the reinforcement of these regulations. Many industries still irresponsibly dispose of their chemical waste. Okay. Many industries still irresponsibly dispose of harmful chemicals, which leads to pollution. Chemical pollution affects air, water, and soil, and exposure to hazardous chemicals can lead to diseases like cancer and many other serious health issues in humans. So now I'm going to tell you a bit about a woman called Amara Strandy. So Amara was raised in Oakdale, Minnesota in USA. It was known that in their community, there were many young people suffering of cancer. This was caused by unsafe disposal of the so-called forever chemicals. That was caused by the company called 3M. So these unsafe chemicals, also called forever chemicals, they basically polluted drinking water for thousands of residents. Then these get to people, and that's the reason why so many young people were suffering of all kinds of health issues, mainly cancer. Amara herself was also suffering of cancer, but she spent the last years of her life fighting for ban on these forever chemicals and also advocating for safe waste disposal. Apologize. She died in 2023, aged only 20 years old. It is cases like hers which show just how important waste and chemical management really is.
We do not really have time to present our suggestions, but you can see them here, and we think these are really important for our country, but also for the whole UN. Thanks.
Thank you very much. You could Please join me here at the panel. I believe there's another student presentation on SDG number 4. Yeah. And thank you. That's a very powerful and moving presentation.
So, hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Diana Biechakova. I am 15 years old and currently in the second grade of high school. And today I've come here to present our presentation about SDG number 4, quality education. We have chosen this topic because we believe that education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world, which is also a quote said by Nelson Mandela. Without additional measures, 84 million children and youth will be out of schools. 300 million children or students will lack basic numeracy or literacy skills, and only 1 in 6 countries will achieve the universal secondary school completion target. The target 4.1 it focuses on ensuring that all children have an access to complete, free, equitable, and quality primary and secondary education. The current situation is bad. During the pandemic, 200 million children were out of school, which meant that only 60% of the population has had a complete secondary education. The numbers have gotten worse. They have risen to over 251 million children being out of school currently. On this map, on this graph, we can see that the areas with the biggest lack of education are in Africa. This is because of poverty. Even if the education is free in these areas, these children are usually from poor families and cannot go to school because they have to help their families out financially. Another example is, for example, the Afghanistan. The Afghan Taliban has taken away many of women's rights, including their right to education. Young girls are not allowed to attend school after finishing 6th grade. An important person in this topic is Malala Yousafzai, which is a Pakistani activist for girls and women's rights in education. She has come to the public eye after advocating for girls' education in surviving an assassination attempt by the Pakistani Taliban at only 15 years old. The target 4A focuses on building and upgrading education facilities and providing a safe, non-violent, inclusive, and effective learning environment for everyone. Some organizations which partake in this topic are, for example, Room to Read and Education Development Trust. So what can we do? Our suggestions are that we can find charities to donate to. We can donate our own used old books that we don't need anymore. We can promote and offer free online courses. We can start a school drive supply in our communities, and we can mentor or tutor these young people ourselves. Our opinion is that it is very important to have access to free education, but this education should also have some sort of quality. We shouldn't be learning about something that we will never need in life, but rather focus on more important topics which can help us in the future. So, for example, more practical stuff. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. May I invite you, please, to join us here at the panel table, and also, if you could join me here at the panel table. So this is Nina and Veronica, and then Maria Kapkova. Yeah, over here. I'm the only thorn among the roses. This is nice. Hi. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for your presentations. And I believe that Jacob is still here with us. So if you have questions, I want to begin there. Like, I can ask my questions, but I will never end. So if you have questions right now, you can already raise them. But thank you very much, Teacher Lubica. What you're doing is really, really important. And I hope I had you as my high school teacher. I didn't learn about SDGs so much as a high school student because we had like MDGs, of course. SDGs weren't there yet, but we did learn. We did hear about MDGs, but making your students do projects like this make them really think about and reflect about the world that they're living in. So let's give a hand again to uh, Ms. Levitsa and her students. And as well, thank you, Daisy, for what we've done in Hiroshima. We've done quite a lot. So if anyone has any questions, yes, please state your name and the country you're from.
Hi, my name is Marizel, and I'm the convener of the conference. Thank you so much to all the speakers, especially on the UN SDGs. I just want to acknowledge that the speaker we have before us, excluding Daisy, of course, came all the way from Slovakia to join us today. So shall we give them a big round of applause?
Yes.
And due to time constraint, we could only allow 2 presentations, but most of them are on that side of the conference room. Thank you so much to the young ladies and gentlemen that are here today talking, conversing, so we can make the world a better place.
There's 27 of them here with us from
27
Slovakia.
plus the teachers. My question is, it's addressed to the girls, the ladies from the school, is you've given such a wonderful presentation. Then tell me something concrete for collaborating. You have very good projects. You're doing it on site in your country. Here we are connecting. Is there anything that we can do for you? Is there anything I can do for you specifically if you're thinking of projects or things that you can do? Anyone can answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's why we are here to networking with other students. Maybe we will find here other students. So my students, I think they will be very happy to meet their young colleagues and exchange. And me personally, I was amazed by the presentation of the lady before me, and I would like to make some networking also with some people. So we are here to bring our projects further, next step further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have another question from Veroni.
Hello, and thank you so much for your very interesting presentations. Since all of them are on education, I wonder, how do we reach audiences that might, since this is about sustainable development goals, that might not believe in climate change or deny climate change? And what can we do to also, I don't know, I don't want to say educate these people, but like reach them somehow, talk to them and find a consensus? Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think Daisy could you share what we did maybe in Japan?
Thank you. That's a really, really interesting question. I think it's really relevant. I think in this kind of era where people like talk a lot about misinformation and things like that, it's really important to think about how do we frame these issues and how do we speak about these topics. I think from the earlier session, we mentioned about setting a good role, like being a role model. I think that's a really important way of doing this. Instead of kind of force feeding someone information or your sort of opinions, I think it's good to just lead by example. And I think it's also good to not to be, come from it from a non-judgmental point of view. Everyone's come from a different background and a different understanding. Our level of education might be different. The way that we were brought up also might be different. It reminds me of when we were volunteering in Hiroshima, the organization we volunteered for, the CEO, a lovely woman named Tomoko. She would invite anyone in from any background, any sort of beliefs, and she would always offer them like tea and biscuits and cake and sit around and chat with them and discuss things in like a really equal way where she wouldn't have any sort of judgment towards them. And I think creating those kind of safe spaces where we can kind of slowly open up and speak about these difficult topics together, and where essentially, yeah, we feel safe is a really important way of maybe approaching these topics.
Thank you very much, Daisy. And because when we tell stories, when you say storytelling, a lot of that is also listening, right? When you sit down and be in a non-judgmental conversation, when you try to find some ways to understand each other without fighting, right? Thank you very much, Daisy. And maybe teacher or the students could answer, like maybe among your peers, like have you encountered situations wherein you disagree with your peers, they don't believe in such things or what you're doing, or they maybe laugh at what you're doing or criticize you? Do you have any kind of experience like that, and how do you deal with that?
Maybe I would say just something. I will just say one thing that I forgot to say, that after each, we did this presentation in our classes for 40 minutes each pair. So this was very brief. We had to really cut it down. But then we had discussions within the class, and different questions were raised. And I feel these discussions were very good also for the young people. And they can also learn from each other. They can see good example, and peer teaching is also great method of teaching. And now I would like to, would you like to comment?
I can comment on this. When you mentioned if we had like any, sorry, if when you mentioned if we have like any issues with other peers, I wouldn't say we have issues, because our class is, for example, very respectful. We are very respectful of each other's opinions, and we listen. The discussions, they serve as a place where we can like let our feelings out, where we can talk about what we think, but we never do it in some sort of insulting way. We always talk to each other respectfully. So we never come to any issues. Nobody ever laughs at us. We are very open with our minds, and we are respectful towards each other.
Thank you very much. And that's a really good environment that you're in. Thank you very much. And I think we have a question from, oh, sorry. I'd like to acknowledge Vroni. Vroni is also, we're going to hear more from Vroni later. She's also one of our speakers. She's a PhD student here in Vienna, Austria. Thank you very much, Vroni, for your question. We have a question from Dr. Reza. Yes, you're acknowledged.
I think this is just a very broad question. I have a few comments on this because I'm dealing with access to information in Asia Pacific. One thing, like I see the work of Daisy, Jacob, and the group of Lubica, really amazing on SDGs, and I can really resonate, and I feel really happy that there are a lot of younger generations working on that. I have one basic question for the three. You may all answer, or one of you might answer this. With these wonderful endeavors that you're doing, how are you thinking of replicating it in other countries? I'm coming from the perspective that I used to work in the Pacific. So I cover countries of Vanuatu, Kiribati, Tokelau, Niue, and Solomon Islands in Papua New Guinea. We are trying to provide access. We are trying to provide more ways to access information to promote education that fits in their culture and in their distinct places. However, there's still always a need for people. Actually, it's more than just resources. One thing I've noticed that like one of the suggestions we have is like we can donate books. But one thing I've noticed in Vanuatu is that our problem is not having books that we are going to put on the shelves, but how are these books going to be promoted to the communities, especially in the remote areas in Vanuatu, given the fact that like it's remote, it's so difficult to get in there, or internet is very slow. It's the slowest kind of internet that I've encountered when I'm staying there. So yeah, I mean, I go back to the question of like in general, is there for everyone as well? Is there a chance you wanted to replicate your projects in this part of the globe? I have very little contribution. I'm sorry to say that, but I have very little contribution, but I'm still communicating with them. But on your end, like I'm just throwing these questions of like, what are your plans in the future to replicate your projects? Thank you.
Would anyone want to give it a go, or Jacob? Yeah, Jacob is still with us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Reza, for that wonderful question. And I'm going to be very direct. I started from Nigeria many years ago, but currently collaborating with folks in China. Now based in the US, we have also launched advocacy here in the US to engage young people, support literacy events and all of that. I'm very open to exploring partnerships. So if there are any young persons who are considering, if it's resource training, any way in which we can support to expand our work, I'm more than happy to have that conversation and connect with you. Because at the end of the day, Goal 17 says partnership for the goals. I may not be present in Europe now, Australia, or Austria or Vienna, but I'm happy to explore partnership with you all. And please feel free to connect with me and we can see how we can leverage on this. And I'm also happy to touch base with you, Reza, to see how we can consider this critical partnership in advocating for the global goals of the SDGs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jacob. And would anyone want to give it? Oh, there's one question. Yes, madam.
It's just a comment. I feel really hope and I feel inspired to see so much youth and you are the change makers. So it's so great to see you all and your attitude, you want to contribute, you want to give something to others and care and share. So like the gentleman from Nigeria, or to give to Nigeria, or as Europe also to share with Africa. And I think there are so much possibilities now with e-learning, so that we leave nobody behind. We always say this. So each one has his focus, and so I feel really inspired that you find your place and then to share and care and also to do networking. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm also very inspired. Thank you very much, madam. And yeah.
I must say one comment. When we came, it was previous panel and question and answers. And there was one comment or question about youth today, that they are maybe not giving too much or problematic. But I must say I have different experience, and also with my students, that they want very much to learn new things, and they want to contribute practically to changes. And I am sorry, you cannot listen to all these projects, because there were many wonderful projects and suggestions. So I have hope for young people today. And maybe sometimes they need only a little bit inspiration and some encouragement, and they will open like flowers.
Thank you. That's very beautiful. And we can have those presentations maybe in Youth Changemakers Forum 2.0 next year, right? So thank you very much, madam. Are there any more questions from the audience? Maybe I can just ask one. Oh, yeah. And then this is the last question, and then I'll ask one more question.
Hello. Yeah, good morning. I just want to comment, and I am very impressed with this forum, because it's actually, I agree with my colleagues that intergenerational partnership and collaboration is very, very important. And I want to share from our international president, that in today's generational workplace, effective communication between different generations is essential to understand and appreciate each other's values and perspectives. For instance, older individuals possess a wealth of experience and knowledge, while younger people bring fresh perspectives and a strong grasp of technology. By sharing these insights across generations, a broader perspectives can be achieved. So congratulations with this intergenerational collaboration. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. That's really important. And since you mentioned intergenerational, collaboration, 10 years from now, Beta will be 10 years old. And how old will I be? Can't do the math. But then those children will be, their mothers will be the Gen Zs or the millennials or maybe even Gen X, right? 20 years from now, they will be 20 years old and so on and so on. So you imagine your place in the society, like what will you be doing from now and then in the coming years? And that's a point of reflection maybe. And maybe like one last question for everyone as closing. Personally, what's one important lesson you've learned from an older person or a younger person that has shaped the way you approach your work? Not specifically just SDGs, but just your work in general. So anything you've learned personally from someone that's kind of like, turned on the light or changed with like a, I don't know what to call it, but like it sparked change in you. So who would like to start? Maybe we can start from Veronica.
So for me, these persons are my parents. They always tell me that it doesn't matter how I feel, but it does matter how I will feel after I will done that thing that I'm working on. So this is for me like this.
Thank you very much, Veronica. And then we go to the other side, maybe with Maria.
Okay, so for me, I can't specifically tell you a like situation, but I can definitely tell that so many inspiration you can get so much inspiration from actually internet. You just have to uh, basically move in places in the internet when there is positivity and a lot of people showing great things, and it will inspire you. So there's not just bad things on the internet. There are a lot of good also.
Thank you. I hope I see that on my timeline. There's a lot of negativity in mine, but that's a good way. Let's create as well and find the positive things. Thank you very much, Maria. Then I go to Nina.
Please, Diana, actually.
Diana. Oh, is it too late? Oh, Diana is open.
There's another.
Okay, can we have Diana? Diana, here you are. We want to make this
Thank you.
up to the last minute.
I agree with the opinion that there are a lot of good things on the internet, but I've also been very inspired by my teachers, for example. For example, my teacher here. I think that the project, the European studies are very important. I enjoy learning about all the issues in the world because I can see what kind of world we're in. And I am inspired by teachers who actually bring attention to these things because I can tell that they really care about changing the world and making the world a better place. Wait, I need to get my thoughts into words. I feel inspired by not just my teachers, but everyone who does presentations, who partakes in these types of activities to educate and show other and younger people the issues going on in the world so we can do our best to help and fix them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. Diana. And maybe I go to Daisy.
Yeah, I think I would like to go back to what I mentioned earlier about Tomoko from the organization where we volunteered. I think she was a really big inspiration for me, and the story I was telling before about how when we would have a meeting or she would meet anyone new, like she would always say, but first we need to sit down and we'll have some sweets and we'll talk. And I think it always reminded me of like to slow down and remember the kind of human element behind it, the connections that we make along the way, the kind of partnerships that we build. And I think that's really important when we're doing this kind of work, is that we have to remember to look after each other and ourselves as well.
Thank you very much. And I can also like attest to that. Tomoko is like an angel walking. Thank you very much, Daisy. And I go to teacher Lubitsa before I go to Jacob online.
Thank you. I must say I'm a team person, so I like to work in a team. And my team as a teacher are my students. So I really enjoy these all different interactions, and I always learn many things from them. And I am many times amazed how enthusiastic they are. They have really enthusiasm to do things. When they like something, they are so enthusiastic to do it and do it, the best. So I must say also I am learning a lot from students and younger generation in general. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lubitsa. And Jacob.
Thank you, JB. I'll go with the teacher. I'm learning a lot from young people as well, and I think they carry the drive for tomorrow. Dr. Jane and others in the room are getting older. Now they are passing the baton to us as young people. And I think we can only learn from ourselves as young people, build competency and trans-border relationship across board, whether from Europe to Africa, wherever, and see how we can hold ourselves accountable as we all work together to achieve the SDG. So I'm learning from young people, and I also agree social media has a lot of good resources. While there are bad ones, you can always sort through the good one and pick the ones that would, that would edify you and make you a better person. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jacob. And congratulations to our to our student presenters, and also to Daisy and Libitsa. And of course, thank you very much, Jacob. It's still morning there. And I just have like one last survey. So if you get your phones out again, phones out. Thank you, Tita Marizel. So in one word, what's your key takeaway for this lesson session, or maybe two or three? Doesn't matter, but just don't make a thesis or a novel. So just put it there. So again, go to menti.com and type those numbers 4665261 3. And in one word, what's your key takeaway for this session? Drive, inspiration, fresh ideas. Should I share about like who I learned from? Like I learned from my enemies as well, because people like learn a lot from their love. I learned from my enemies. Like, why are you fighting me? Like, and then not when I was younger, like like those bullies would say something, and then I find like their reasons, and it's just like lack of like awareness and understanding, lack of love as well. Yeah, like Andy is one of my mortal enemies, so I learn a lot from him. But yeah, even in this with these people, like you learn from them as well, like why you disagree and how you can resolve these issues. New chances, passion, intergenerational, listening to each other, change makers, teamwork, collaboration. They keep moving. It's nice. I don't know which I once I read already. Education is key, inspiring. Cooperation. Ah, I like that as a person who works in cooperatives, but I know you also mean it in the original sense. Enthusiasm, understanding, connecting, and listening to each other. Partnerships. I hope during lunch we can partner with each other as well. Mind-blowing ideas. Thank you very much. And maybe I just read the last 5 words that I see. Hope, and there's just like a heart emoji there. Love it. Start, beginnings. Better world. That's the theme of international. The United Nations declared 2025 as the International Year of Cooperatives, and the theme is cooperatives build a better world. Like we all build a better world. Potential. The future is young, working, and love. Thank you very much, everyone. Let's give yourselves a warm round of applause. Thank you very much. And the people can stay here. We will hear from 1 second. Just hopefully it's here. It's here.
to give us an insight on the role of the youth and to close this morning session, well, lunch session, we have a guest speaker from the Philippine Embassy here in Vienna, Austria. Consul General Zoilo A. Velasco is also the Deputy Head of Mission and Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations of the Philippine Embassy and Mission in Vienna. Please welcome Consul General Zoilo A. Velasco.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for the introduction. I just came from a meeting at the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, which is, of course, a UN organization in charge of industrial development. And discussions there is the focus for the next 2 years of UNIDO in helping the development of developing countries, including the middle-income countries, which is very important for the Philippines. And we're discussing about SDGs, which is very much being discussed here as well, especially SDG-9 for UNIDO. And so it's a smooth transition to the next event that I'm attending now here, relating to development and then the role of the youth. So this is indeed very good. So distinguished organizers of this forum, the European Network of Filipino Diaspora, ENFiD, particularly ENFiD Czech Republic and the ENFiD Austria, the Women's Federation for World Peace, and the United Nations Correspondence Association Vienna, esteemed guests, and of course to the remarkable young change makers present today, including those in the panel. I extend my heartfelt congratulations and deepest gratitude for convening such a timely and important gathering. This forum arrives at a pivotal moment. Our world is undergoing rapid transformation, as you know. The relentless pace of technological advancement and the increasingly visible effects of climate change. The challenges we face today are in many ways unprecedented. Yet, despite these evolving landscapes, one constant remains: the critical role of the youth as the forebears of hope for future generations. I am deeply honored to address such a dynamic and inspiring audience representing a diverse array of countries and backgrounds. The work that each of you has undertaken in your personal and professional journeys speaks volumes about your commitment to positive change. Your passion and dedication reflect a universal truth. True progress is driven by idealists, by those who dare to imagine a better future and work tirelessly to make it a reality. And as students, postgraduate professionals, and young leaders, you are uniquely positioned to shape the world in profound ways. We are reminded of Dr. Jose Rizal, the national hero of the Philippines, who, while studying in Europe, particularly in Germany, nurtured his ideals for his homeland. His time abroad allowed him to deepen his understanding of freedom, justice, and national identity, ideals that inspired generations of Filipinos to strive for independence, and which we eventually got in 1898. Rizal's legacy demonstrates the power of education, cross-cultural experiences, and unwavering belief in the transformative potential of youth. He's always remembered by us by his saying that youth is the hope of the future, hope of the nation. And in fact, in the Philippines, that is institutionalized in our political structure, the smallest unit, barangay, we have youth leaders in the barangay, in Sangguniang Kabataan, or youth councilors in the barangay, all the way up to the national government with the National Youth Commission. And at the barangay level, the barangay councilors learn a lot from their mandate because they serve the communities in areas of health, in sports, and public order. So in their own way, as they serve the community, they also learn. Today, the ideals of Rizal once championed are alive in each of you. In this very room, there may be a future leader who will develop innovative solutions to address the climate crisis, eradicate poverty, bridge social inequities, or revolutionize public health systems. You, the youth, hold the key to addressing some of the most pressing issues of our time, and your fresh perspectives are exactly what we need right now, what the world needs. However, let us not forget that change does not always begin with grand gestures. As young change makers, you can make a significant impact in your immediate communities through small, meaningful actions, whether it's finding solutions to your household's water shortage, managing families' resources more efficiently, teaching younger siblings new language, or sharing environmental knowledge with your neighbors. These seemingly modest efforts create ripple effects. They strengthen community bonds, build resilience, and foster collective progress. Community development is at its core about people coming together, transferring knowledge, sharing skills, and working collaboratively toward a shared vision of a better future. The ripple effects of your actions, no matter how small, will inspire others to follow suit, and over time, this ripple will turn into waves of positive change that can uplift entire communities. I extend my sincerest thanks to the organizers for creating this platform, a space for dialogue, exchange, and collaboration. The youth gathered here, I challenge you to take what you have learned today and apply it not only to your personal growth, but also to the betterment of your communities, whether in Europe or back home. The journey ahead may be long and complex, but I have full confidence that the seeds of change you plant today will nourish in ways we cannot yet fully imagine, and we will see in the future. I look forward with great anticipation to seeing how each of you will continue to shape our world. Your ideas, your actions, and your unwavering commitment will define the future of community development, environmental stewardship, cultural preservation, and beyond. Once again, congratulations to the organizers and to the participants. I'm inspired by your work, by the discussions I heard so far, and eager to witness the incredible contributions you will make in the years to come. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. And it just shows how government work is also important. Like we have to have strong, robust institutions and systems in place that can support the youth. And thank you, Sir Zoilo, for your statement of support. We also have a representative from Ministry of Education who will also be speaking with us in the afternoon. So we have more exciting sessions coming in the afternoon. For now, we will break out for lunch. Okay, so we come back around 13:55. Yes, 13:55. So please be on time so we can also start on time. But for those who have missed the film earlier, we are going to show it 15 minutes before the lunch ends. So I cannot do the math. So 55 minus 15, that's when we show the film. Around 12:40-ish, especially our delegation from Slovakia, we will do a second screening of the film that was shown earlier. And again, the filmmakers will talk a little bit more about what they did. So thank you very much. And we have some special announcements.
So lunch break, we have a cafeteria on the ground floor. There are signs that you can follow. We apologize that it's a self-cost lunch because this is the first, hopefully the first of many Youth Changemakers Forum. So this is a zero budget event. Next time, maybe we can provide a banana or an apple. For now, I do apologize on behalf of the organizers, the European Network of Filipino Diaspora, the Women's Federation for World Peace, and the United Nations Correspondents Association in Vienna. So everyone can march down unless you have a sandwich with you. So the cafeteria, there's a lot of choices, okay? And be back so that you can still enjoy, for those who missed it, the film. And we start, if we can, punctually at 2 o'clock. So thank you so much for being such an engaged audience. You are all very inspiring. You rock. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you.